Vanakkam Dohadeva and everyone. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Ma Vinvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, we will start by sharing the screen. First topic. Here we go, first topic. This is continuity with what we were focusing on last time, which is awareness. So this is a publisher's desk called Claiming Your Omnipresence. Claiming Your Omnipresence, 2019 Pub Desk. It's continuing on the idea of awareness that we were focused on last time in our 4 Shum perspectives. This one's not technical at all. Omnipresence is defined as the state of being present everywhere at the same time. In a religious context, omnipresence is generally thought of as an attribute unique to God. God is present everywhere, whereas man is only present in the location of his physical body. Hindu thought differs from this perspective. Not only is God omnipresent, he has graciously shared that attribute with us. Omnipresence is found at the core of our soul. We can compare this to the Internet, which was created by the U.S. Department of Defense for their use, but was ultimately given to the world for everyone to freely use. I have coined a word for the omnipresent network that is accessed by experiencing the core of the soul. I call it the Internet. So this is the Internet versus the Internet. T becomes an N. Realized beings have shared their experience of the Internet. Yoga Swami expressed it in this way. Bliss, bliss, bliss. I am here, I am there, I am everywhere. As we know, it's anandam, 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 ingum, angum, engum, nan. Beautiful. To make sure his devotees didn't think that this was an attainment unique to him, he would also state, I am everywhere, you are everywhere, but you don't believe it. Practical statement. That's the challenge you face in presenting this idea. Someone doesn't believe that they're omnipresent. So of course they can't be omnipresent if they don't believe they're omnipresent. He also made seemingly outlandish statements such as, now I am sitting here. I am in England also. I am also in America. Not only was Yogaswami able to experience the Internet, he was able to utilize it to accomplish tasks at a distance. We can give initiation by thought to people in Singapore while remaining here in Sri Lanka. Saves on airfare and very good for COVID-19 restrictions. This interior network has a parallel to the external Internet with which we remotely access digital devices that are thousands of miles away from our computers. In Hindu philosophy, the Sanskrit term most commonly used for the Internet of omnipresence is Sat-Chit Ananda. Our lexicon defines this as existence, consciousness, bliss, a synonym for Para-Shakti, Lord Shiva's divine mind, and simultaneously the pure superconscious mind of each individual soul, which is our point. Sat-Chit Ananda is perfect love and omniscient, omnipotent consciousness, the fountainhead of all existence, yet containing and permeating all existence. also called pure consciousness, pure form, substratum of existence, and more. One of the goals of the meditator or yogi is to experience the natural state of the mind, Satchit Ananda, holding back the vrittis, mental activities, through yogic practices. Yoga Swami had a terse way of stating this. Satchit Ananda. That is one thing. Satchit Ananda. Sat is you are. Chit is omnipresence. Prakasha. Light is from the sun, all-knowing. Ananda is bliss. They are three, but they are one. That is your nature. Before proceeding, it is important we understand what is the relationship between awareness and omnipresent consciousness, Satchit Ananda. See if you can guess this one. What's the relationship? Are they same? Are they different? How do they relate? The answer, omnipresent consciousness, is one way that awareness functions. One way that awareness functions. Awareness can function in three different ways. Travel, awareness flowing through the mind, being singularly aware of one area and then another. So that's what we were looking at with Shumif. Awareness is traveling, flowing through the mind. Awareness can also focus. Focuses and brings before the vision all things, thoughts, seeing them from the inside out. And it can expand. Awareness can expand into the endless inner space of the seventh dimension or contract into being completely aware of itself. Kaiv. One of the Shum states of awareness is the concept of the expansion of awareness. Dimf-i. Awareness superconsciously experiencing Satchit Ananda. Awareness in the seventh dimension. Awareness of pure consciousness as the self. Awareness in its pure, expansive natural state. Expand, that's the key word there. Often pronounced and simply written as dimf. So that's the relationship. It is awareness, Satchit Ananda, omnipresent consciousness, is awareness in its expanded state. It's totally expanded, which makes it present everywhere. In Hinduism, it is not enough to simply state that omnipresence resides at the core of our soul. This truth ultimately must be experienced by each of us. We can move toward experiencing omnipresent using a series of progressive practices. The first step is to understand and then identify ourselves as awareness rather than what we are aware of. Clear statement of this idea is found in the first 4 verses of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Now the exposition of yoga. Yoga is the restraint of mental activities. Then awareness abides in its essential nature. At other times, awareness takes on the form of the mental activities. Awareness, as we know, is the soul's ability to sense, see, or know, and to be conscious of this knowing. In the Yoga Sutras, awareness is termed drashta, drik, chit, and chit shakti. So chit and chid are the same. It's just grammatical change. The T becomes a D. In the Agamas, the Sanskrit term for awareness is sakshin, which in Tamil is satchi, meaning witness. The state referred to in verse 3, then awareness abides in its essential nature, is the result of awareness disuniting with the mental activities and remaining temporarily aware only of itself until thoughts again arise. Oh, we have a simple exercise. Identifying yourself as awareness. We can all practice for a couple of minutes here. So I'll read the exercise. Mentally repeat the question, who am I, for 1 minute while being aware that you are repeating it. Then during the next minute, cease the repetition and simply be aware of what was aware of repeating it. So I'll repeat that again. I should have put in a copy of the slide, but I can't go backwards. So 1 minute, first minute, repeat the question, who am I, while being aware that you are repeating it. So you are the witness. You are watching yourself repeat the question. Then the next minute, you stop the question. You are just still the watcher. You're the watcher, but you're not watching anything. So I'll give you 2 minutes on that. Okay, that's good. Oh, this is my common example. Most of you have heard this before. An example may be helpful. I hold up a piece of paper and I say, I see the paper. That makes sense, right? I see the paper in my hand. If I say, I am the paper, how many would agree? No one, right? We are trained from childhood that we are not physical objects. We perceive them. We see the paper, we smell the incense, we hear the water flowing. We are different from them. That's the way we're taught to think. But then we say, I am happy. Think about it. We identify with the happiness we experience, but we are not the paper we see. Turning to Patanjali's verses, happiness is the mental activity that awareness has taken the form of. The goal is to distinguish ourselves from what is mental in the same way we distinguish ourselves from what is physical. We don't want to think, I am happy. We want to think, I, awareness, am experiencing the emotion called happiness. But I am not happiness. I am the experiencer of happiness. Oh, that's the idea. You are the experiencer. And you notice I never say my awareness, because that makes it different than what you are. So I say I awareness, or I as awareness. So you're the awareness. It's not something you possess. That isn't who I am, just as I am not the paper I see. Exercise number 2, moving your awareness. Good second step toward claiming your soul's omnipresence is to control the state of consciousness that you, as awareness, are currently experiencing. If you are in a slightly depressed state of mind, move awareness into a happier one. If you are jealous of an individual, move into a state of being happy for what he or she has achieved. Gurudeva taught this principle by comparing the states of consciousness and individual experiences to a large city and awareness to the traveler through the city. He wrote, generally people take problems too personally by identifying closely with them. When they experience anger, they are angry. When they experience bliss, they are blissful. The mystic identifies with the experiencer instead of the experience. He sees himself as pure awareness that travels in the mind. When he is in San Francisco, he is not San Francisco. Similarly, when he is in anger, he is not anger. He says to himself, I am pure energy. I am the spiritual energy that floods through mind and body. I am not the body, the mind, or the emotions. I am not the thoughts I think or the experiences I experience. Thus he molds a new identity of himself as a free being who can travel anywhere in the mind. Such a person is always at the top of the mountain. What other qualities does omnipresent consciousness have? Omnipresent consciousness has other qualities such as being eternal and changeless. In other words, you as omnipresence have always existed and have never changed. So that part of you that's omnipresent is eternal. It's always existed and it's never changed. So we have a great story on that. Charming story told by a former Canadian ambassador to Sri Lanka illustrates this idea. My wife and I brought our 3 children to see Yoga Swami. Turning to the children, he asked each of them, how old are you? Our daughter said 9 and the boys 11 and 13. To each in turn, Yoga Swami replied solemnly, I am the same age as you. When the children protested that he couldn't be 3 different ages at once, and that he must be much older than their grandfather, Yoga Swami just laughed and winked at us to see if we understood. At the time, we took it as his joke with the children, but slowly we came to see that he meant something profound, which was for us to decipher. Now, I think this was his way of saying indirectly that although the body may be of very different ages on its way from birth to death, something just as real as the body and for which the body is only a vehicle always was and always will be. In that sense, we are in essence all the same age. Right, we're all the same age, which is eternal. Gurudeva comments on the idea of being an unchanging being. To the awakened mystic, there is only one mind. There is no your mind and my mind, just one mind, finished, complete in all stages of manifestation. Man's individual awareness flows through the mind as the traveler treads the globe. Just as the free citizen moves from city to city and country to country, awareness moves through the multitude of forms in the mind. Before we meditate, we view the cycles of our life and erroneously conclude that the mind changes that it evolves. We view joy one moment and despair the next, and because we feel so different in these states, assume we have changed. We grow up and look back on our childhood and again see the appearance of change. So change is an appearance to Gurudeva. Through meditation, however, we observe that we have not changed at all. Awareness becomes our real identity, and it is pure and changeless. And it was the same at 7 years of age as it is today. It is the same in happiness as it is in sadness. Pure awareness cannot change. It is simply aware. Therefore, you are right now the totality of yourself. You never were different, and you never will be. You are perfect at this very moment. Change is only a seeming concept created through false identification with the experiences we have in various areas of the one mind. 3 more exercises. These can't be done on the Zoom satsang. Try them at another time. When you come home from visiting a temple, imagine you are still in the temple in front of the deity and feel the vibration of the distant temple within you. So you can actually project your awareness to the temple. It's easier if you've been there, and it's easier if you've been there a number of times, but you could actually do it to any temple. So this is a temple you go to regularly. When you come back, visit in your mind, feel the vibration. When you walk down the street, imagine that you are in 2 places. This one's fun. Where you are standing and also ahead of your body at the end of the block. Another walking exercise. Clearly, I walk a lot. Strive to go deeply enough within to see that you, as awareness, are actually standing still, not moving. So if you've ever had that experience, you're moving, but you have no sense of moving. You feel like you're standing still. That is Satchidananda, omnipresent consciousness. It can't move because it's already everywhere. You can only move if you're not everywhere. Conclusion. Next time you find yourself in a negative state of consciousness, there we go, move awareness out of it into positive consciousness. The positive consciousness that you are a spiritual being whose essence is identical with God. Identifying yourself as awareness and learning to move awareness out of negative states of consciousness into positive ones brings you closer to experiencing yourself as omnipresent. Satchit Ananda, the most subtle level of existence you can be aware of. Oh, we have a story. This is about Shiva Yoga Swami Tutivadi Nilayam. It's a small center in Colombo, opened by Yoga Swami's devotees who live in Colombo. It's the only center in Colombo dedicated to Yoga Swami. So they invited me for the opening, which was a few years ago, and then I also came back a year later. So this story relates to the second visit a year later. The talk I prepared began by quoting a letter from Yoga Swami that answered the question, who am I? Not the body, not the mind, not the emotions, the idea we're talking about today. What was unexpected is that same letter had been painted on the main wall in Tamil script in between my visits. So there it was, what I was going to open my talk with, and what was on the wall was the same letter. My talk was, of course, in English, and what was on the wall was Tamil. But I could tell, because the first part gave it away, Nanyar, who am I, right? That's how it starts. So I could, even from a distance, I could read Nanyar, and I knew it was the same thing. And then the answer comes quickly. Ni Atma. You are the Atma. So if you ever go there, it's on the wall, right in back of the Shiva Lingam and Yoga Swami Murtis. So this is the letter. Who am I? Nanyar. You are not the body. You are not the mind, nor the intellect, nor the will. You are the Atma. The Atma is eternal. Sounds familiar? Talking about the Atma is talking about awareness, is talking about Satchidananda. It's all different concepts of the same thing. So it's eternal, same idea. This is the conclusion at which great souls have arrived from their experience. Let this truth become well impressed on your mind. Second topic. Character Building Workbook. 10th character quality, which is cleanliness. So cleanliness, of course, is very basic, very self-evident to adults, but still the point in these character qualities is look for one or more areas in which you could do a little better. So how would you define cleanliness before we give the workbook's definition? Workbook says cleanliness means being free of dirt or filth. I observe it by good housekeeping and by bathing and washing my clothes frequently. The opposite is dirtiness. So 3 aspects being given there. Housekeeping, cleaning the environment, clean clothes, clean body. Gurudeva comments on this. A clean personal environment, wearing clean clothes, bathing often, keeping the room spotless where you meditate. That's a particularly important aspect of cleanliness. Breathing clean air, letting fresh air pass through your house. Air actually is important to cleanliness. Fresh air is all very important in the fulfillment of purity. I remember our Ayurvedic consultant, Dr. Sodhi, who lives in Seattle, Washington, where it's a bit cold, this time cold in the winter. He keeps his window open a little bit, even though it causes him to spend a little bit more on his heating bill. In North America, most houses are heated with natural gas because it brings in fresh air, and fresh air helps the environment be cleaner, and it's also good for your immune system. While purity and impurity refer to physical cleanliness, their more important meanings extend to social, ceremonial, mental, emotional, psychic, and spiritual cleanliness or contamination. Freedom from all forms of contamination is a key to Hindu spirituality and is one of the yamas. Physical purity requires a clean and well-ordered environment, yogic purging of the internal organs, and frequent cleansing with water. Then we got our 3 examples. In caring for your wardrobe, you, cleanliness. Wear clothes no more than a few times and then wash them well. Dirtiness. Wear them until you can't stand it or someone close to you begins to complain. Oh, that's written for a younger person. Second example, as far as body maintenance, you, cleanliness. Bathe at least twice each day and regularly wash your hair and care for your nails. Dirtiness, bathe when really needed, which is definitely not each day. Third example, when it comes to the rooms you live and work in, you, cleanliness. Thoroughly clean them weekly and keep things tidy in between. Dirtiness. Clean up when you think visitors or your boss will show up. So this is a reflection. Trying applying this to yourself. Take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve personal and or environmental cleanliness. Anything come to mind as an area you could do better in? And the assignment given in the workbook for 2 weeks, focus on wearing clean clothing during this. Try again. For the first of these 2 weeks, focus on wearing clean clothing. During the second week, focus on keeping your living and workspaces clean and tidy. Then we get our third topic, which is our new one, satsang@hindu.org. And we have regularly 1 or 2 questions coming in each week. So we have a small backlog of unanswered questions. Our first question is, what could Hindu temples do to raise the issue of Hindu persecution? Currently, no Hindu temple in the world does much about these issues. Second and related question, what role do Hindu temples play in society, specifically for standing united against attacks on Hinduism, Hindu people, etc.? So, answer, role of Hindu temple. I think most Hindu temples are created and managed for the primary purpose of providing traditional temple ceremonies. Secondarily, some provide Hindu education and teach traditional arts such as singing and dancing, meaning basically they're not created or intended to get involved in social issues. However, one type of Hindu group is oriented in that way, which is regional Hindu councils. Groups we are personally familiar with are the Malaysia Hindu Sangam, which speaks up for the rights of Hindus in Malaysia. Another group is Hindus of Greater Houston, that's Houston, Texas. So many Hindu organizations in Houston, they can have an umbrella group just in that one city. So neither of these councils is responsible for managing a temple. I think that's an important point, is the groups that are speaking up to protect Hindus and Hindu activities don't manage temples. For example, April 6, 2019, Hindus of Greater Houston, HGH, hosted a first of its kind forum on understanding hate crimes and protection of places of worship for faith-based and community leaders to learn how to prevent and respond to hate crimes against places of worship. So I think this is the idea the person asking the question had in mind. And the government was involved. Facilitated by the United States Department of Justice Community Relations Services, it held presentations by representatives from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Texas, Harris County District Attorney's Office, FBI Houston Field Office, Department of Homeland Security, and Harris County Sheriff's Office. About 40 faith-based organizations, meaning different faiths, not just Hindu, attended the forum, which was held at the Houston Durga Body Society. So I think that's a successful group there in terms, and they also, in terms of being able to have a meeting with such high-level governmental agencies participating. And I know personally that on occasions when issues have come up in the newspapers, they, in an organized way, they have an individual who writes back to the newspapers or even goes to visit a newspaper to explain why a story was seriously wrong. So they're very proactive in that way. And that's our last slide for today. Oh.